when you kind of reflect on, you know, being at this point, this stage in your life, if you were to think about the 19-year-old you, and if the 19-year-old you could look at where you are today,
Wow.
releasing your second project,
Yeah.
doing a lot of different things that you set to do,
Yeah.
and you and I had an opportunity to
Yeah.
sit down, you know,
Yeah.
and just chat. So for me, the excitement to sit with you
Yeah.
is more so just to see like where you are on the journey.
Yeah.
You know, so again, if from that 19-year-old perspective of who you were.
It's funny that you mentioned 19-year-old me, because 19-year-old me is actually how old I was when I came here to Toronto. And you're aware of that, right?
Absolutely.
So 10 years this is a story 10 years in the making so far, plus all of my lived experiences growing up in St. Kitts as well. And I think 19-year-old me had a lot of dreams and hopes and expectations for what Toronto was like, but obviously the reality of what Toronto is, and navigating that while also pursuing my goals and pursuing my dreams as an artist, is something that I had no idea what it would be like. I really no idea for what the reality was, but at the same time, I find myself in an immensely blessed position to be able to be where I am today, to be able to actualize in the way that I have so far.
What's your why? What's your purpose? You know, at some point after 10 years, you come to thinking to yourself.
Yeah.
Especially as poets, as artists, we have to go into ourselves, right?
We were speaking earlier about the indirect impact that you have as an artist on just like saving people.
Absolutely.
From everywhere that you would never have an opportunity to even interact with were it not for them listening to your music or your poetry. And the ability to reach that person that I will never know is my why.
Yeah. Oh, I love
That person that I will never meet, that will never reach out to me, that only knows me through my music or my poetry. That's my why out there.
This idea of finding your human nature, like how has that played a part into who you are as a person and how you're navigating, you know?
I had two main support systems in St. Kitts when it comes to that. Obviously my family, who didn't understand what I was doing all the time necessarily, but in retrospect, sometimes I didn't even understand what I was doing sometimes, you know? So I still had to define that for myself as well. So in retrospect, you know, I can understand and put some context to it, but in the time it was very difficult.
Absolutely.
You know, and I guess you go to school. Like you mentioned, I went to school for psychology, and I graduated and got my degree and everything, but I realized that I didn't want to be a therapist.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that route. And at the time, you know, I was starting to go to Rise and realizing, oh shit, like Toronto is a city where I could do this full time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Toronto is a place where I actually could pursue this as my career.
Absolutely.
And as you found as well, like you have to wear many different hats as an artist, whether you're an educator or a speaker or a presenter or, you know, award host or whatever the case may be, you never know. In addition to your art.
Absolutely.
And wearing all those different hats
Simultaneously.
right? And that has over time become who I am as a person, to the point where it's not an obstacle, it's a power.
Because what do you hope listeners get from the album? Like after they listen to the album, what do you hope they leave with?
First of all, hopefully a better understanding of who I am as a person, because I first of all realized when I was making the album, the only way that people are going to truly connect with this project is if I share of myself first. I can't ask people to inspect their own human nature without sharing my human nature first, which is why this album is so much more personal than the offshore account. The offshore account is looking at the society, and obviously I touch on the same themes and stuff like that. I always question those ideas, but I spend a lot more time looking at myself.
Like, what do you want your legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered?
I want my art to be the thing that can help someone else improve their legacy. And my legacy is everyone else that my music touches. You asked me at the beginning about my why, and my why is for that person, because that person in turn will help continue along my legacy.
Absolutely.
Right?
I appreciate you asking me to even interview, because it gave me the opportunity to listen a little early.
Get the early director's cut.
Director's cut. You know, the project is dropping on November the 18th.
Yes,
so,
sir.
you know, very, very excited, you know, to have it released and just for people to listen to it. I think it's good timing, because after COVID, you did your exploration,
Right.
and some folks are still at their own journey.
Right.
And they'll have that opportunity to kind
To
of
do
explore
that.
for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not every day you get the Ontario Poet Laureate to come and interview you. You just happen to be the homie as well, so you know
Absolutely.
it works out well.
Make it happen.
But yeah, like I said at the start, like you inspire me, and you continue to do great things, and where you've been able to take rise, and also your own personal career is just so special to see, you know. And so many people in Toronto look up to you, bro. It's crazy. Like this is really special. This is a special moment that we have here to be here, you and I, to have this conversation. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you as well.
Yeah, man, my man.
Pleasure.
Love.
Thank you so much.
Love always,
Appreciate
man.
it.